bioelectric chemistry is a study of how energy is moving through you, but how to give your body what it needs, because the chemistry controls the cells, which control the organs. So while we're sitting here trying to treat adrenal and thyroid disorders, I'm saying, no, you correct the energy efficiency, and it tells you what nutrients you're needed to support these other systems, and they all fall in place.
Hi, Dr. Misak. How are you?
I'm well. I'm blessed.
Thank you so much for joining me on Staying Ageless. I'm really excited to have you here.
I'm looking forward to it. I think staying ageless is what we need to do, right?
Yeah, well, I'm really glad that you're here because you can talk about a lot of the stuff that I like to nerd out about. But before we get into all of that, I want to know how you kind of got led down the path to combining a pharmacist background and naturopathic medicine.
Seeking truth and reality. You know, I was a pharmacist. I graduated West Virginia University. I went after traveling in Europe on a bicycle for 3 months. I came back and I worked at Duke Medical Center. I was a clinical rounding pharmacist, and mostly with cancer patients and general medicine. And I watched a lot of people dying, and I started asking questions. Why are we not giving these people IV nutrients? And they're like, there's no research. You know, it's before I had 5 kids. So I started pulling research to the table and said, hey, look, you take vitamin C or you take these B vitamins in these cancer states. They're like, oh, that's been refuted. It hadn't been. So it led me down this rabbit hole of looking into alternative support for cancer before it happened. We're talking 1990s, before anybody knew anything about this stuff, right? Or at least not many did. Ralph Moss, those type of people. And next thing you know, I'm out National College of Naturopathic Medicine in Portland, Oregon, studying to become a naturopathic doctor. Got licensed out there. And while I was doing that, I worked in a compounding pharmacy for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
While I was working through naturopathic school, stayed an extra, almost a year there. And so blending and compounding just brought about this unique attributes of how to look at things.
Huh, that's super cool. I also think it's a very interesting combination of credentials because I don't know, when I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I find that there's a lot of medication. There's a lot of things in the natural world that sometimes is superior to medication as far as doing the same kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I imagine your understanding of both really deeply would help you a great deal. I don't know.
Yeah, but I teach it's a process, not a product, even though I'm sitting here going to talk about a product a little bit today. But it's a process because I teach a bioelectric concept of how our bodies are energy, their frequency, vibration, and how you can measure that at home and how you can monitor to know what foods you need to eat, because that's where we're supposed to get our nutrients. The problem is our foods are nutritionally depleted. So you need some basics to come back in. So whereas we look at, most people interpret natural medicine as, what do I take instead of my drugs? And they're looking at things of thyroid or adrenal or liver stress or whatever it may be, and they want to take something for these organ systems. And I'm like, no, you need to step back, because if you control the chemistry, all of that stuff starts fixing itself anyway.
That's so good. That's so good. So I've noticed that some naturopathic medicine doctors maybe come from your perspective, and others actually just treat the natural supplements more like the drug. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why there's a discrepancy there, but I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's called allopathic, naturopathic allopathy, or green allopathy. Let me treat your disease by giving you nutrients and herbs instead of giving you drugs. And that's kind of where allopathic, traditional medicine started. You go back to the early 1960s, and Eli Lilly was making liver extracts and stuff like that for you to inject into people to stimulate and support the liver and correct anemias. And that's where, but medicine went straight to drugs, particularly by the 1980s, but there were still a lot of natural-based pharmaceuticals all the way through, so early in 1970s, but by the 1980s they were getting rid of all those and bringing out drugs with everything. But
Hmm.
it's our traditional medicine was based upon pharmacognosy, the use of plant extracts to make the drugs, and it's
Yes.
a sad state. I mean, I could talk for hours on any of this stuff, but I hope you can keep me reeled in because I can go on tangents. So if you see me going off, let me know.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. You talked a little bit about the bioelectric quantum energy concept. Can you break that down for us if we don't know what that means?
Well, smartest man to walk the earth, right? Who were they? Tesla and Einstein, right? Would you say that?
Okay.
Okay. So Tesla said if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you have to think in terms of frequency and vibration. So everything breaks down to frequency and vibration. So it's all harmonics, it's all electromagnetic. And then Einstein says energy is the same thing as matter with the speed of light constant. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you? You're matter. So you're heat and electricity. So then there
Yeah.
was a guy that nobody hears about named Kerry Reams, who, while Einstein was doing the mathematics of how to take an atom apart, he was looking at how to put it back together. How do we build cells? How do we? And he created what's called the theory of ionization, Ream's biological theory of ionization. So basically, you're building healthy electromagnetic aspects of what we are. And he found that we're supposed to do it through food and minerals. So it's a
Yeah.
remineralization aspect. So I teach, so Reams call it the Reams biological theory of ionization, and I teach it as bioelectric chemistry. Okay. And so there's these variables. We know what perfect energy is or perfect efficiency is. And we look at this equation by taking a urine and saliva sample analytically and say, hey, this controls potential energy. This is the speed of energy. This is energy going through your body. This is how you're getting rid of waste. And this is how you're either building proteins or you're not building proteins and creating toxic waste. And you turn around and you see where those are imbalanced, and it points a picture that says, this is what's going on with you. So
Mm.
bioelectric chemistry is a study of how energy is moving through you, but how to give your body what it needs, because the chemistry controls the cells, which control the organs. So while we're sitting here trying to treat adrenal and thyroid disorders, I'm saying, no, you correct the energy efficiency, and it tells you what nutrients you're needed to support these other systems, and they all fall in
Yeah.
place. So
Yeah.
I've written articles for Naturopathic Doctor News and Review. It's called NDNR. You go to
Hmm.
ndnr.com. You can just put in my name, and you'll find these articles that explain these concepts, because I watch miracles happen.
No,
Or
that's
you can
cool.
go to docmisak, docmisak.com. And then on my website, I've got links to those articles. I've got things like the podcast and shows that I've done with you.
Very, very cool. For me, that ties in with Chinese medicine and acupuncture and that as a self-healing tool because I feel like when you understand that the whole body works with these energy meridians and all that stuff, if you just support the energy meridian, if you actually support, remove the blockages
Mm-hmm.
as well, that's when the healing happens.
Exactly. I don't disagree with you at all. You got to, any type of it's all terrain. What's going on
Mm,
inside, and where you get congestive patterns, you have breakdown because the nutrients aren't getting, or the waste isn't eliminated. And so
mm,
I teach that everything comes down to deficiency or excess. So where you're teaching toxicities, we can talk about a 5-phase health approach that I created. Clean up your environment, test to know what you're reactive to, support your body, detoxify, self-awareness, and meditation. But the whole idea is, like, if we know what's toxic to our body and you lower that load, or we're looking at if you have something toxic in your body, if your body has these natural mechanisms to get rid of it. If it's not, and it's accumulating and becoming more toxic and causing symptoms, then something's deficient because you can't
mm,
handle the load.
mm, mm,
So everything really comes down to a deficiency, because if you have what you need, your body should get rid of the waste, or you're exceeding the load, but you need to clean up your world. What are you putting on your skin? What are you bathing in? What are you washing your clothes in? Are you eating genetically modified foods? Are you eating pesticide laden foods? Are you drinking tap water? Are you showering in tap water?
mm.
Your body, you right now are as healthy as you possibly can be, because based on homeostasis, your body is adapting energetically, electrically, everything to be as healthy as it can be in the environment that you're in.
Mm,
Change your environment, give your body what it needs, and watch miracles happen because God put that restorative health in you.
that's awesome. That's super awesome. Let's talk about telomeres. What are telomeres? Why should we care, especially when we're trying to stay ageless?
Telomeres, the greatest anti-aging discovery ever, is in 2009 Nobel Prize of Medicine. Three physiologists discovered an enzyme called telomerase. Okay, and telomerase is an enzyme that prevents telomeres, which are at the end of your DNA, and as they shorten, you age. So they took these pre-aged mice at being like 96 years old with white hair and cataracts and kidney failure and arthritis. And they stimulated this enzyme and they reverse aged them. Their brains grew 25%. Their hair went
Wow.
black. Their cataracts disappeared. Their kidney failure corrected. They were running through mazes like that of a healthy 35-year-old mouse. So 2014, I'm like, okay, how do you stimulate telomerase?
Right.
With that, how do you do this, right? So I did all this Google searching and going for medical reviews and printed out 100 of abstracts, and I found that there's all these natural products that did it. And so then from a pharmacy, compounding pharmacy perspective, natural medicine, I looked up and see, are there any natural products that do this? And there was
Mm,
one of them out there, and it's still out there, called TA65. And it
okay.
has cycloestraglinol and astragaloside 4 in it, and these high concentrations, and it costs between $400 to $3,000 a month if you want
Whoa.
to take the doses that they recommend. And
Wow.
I'm like, holy crap. And so I turned around and then I looked at these herbs that cause it. And so I turned around and used that compounding pharmacy experience and I formulated a product called Vitalometry. And so it took me about 4 years to get it out, but it's Vitalometry, Vitelometry. And if you go to vitalometry.com or docmesec.com, you can learn about it. And then this year I came out with a dog product because of it, and I can tell you a story with that. But the basis is I found herbs that all have telomerase activity and combined them with what I understand from a bioelectric concept.
Mm,
So in a bioelectric concept, you have to have minerals, particularly calcium, because it regulates all energy or how all minerals go in and out of your cells, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you do an EKG or an EMG or an EEG, and they're measuring electrical activity. Well, that's sodium and potassium starting an electrical potential going through a calcium channel, right? So that's how energy moves through our body. Well, so calcium regulates, but other than that, so I formulated astragalus. That's where those cycloastragalol, astragaloside 4 come from. And I put astragalus plus those extracts in it because what's that good for? For centuries, adrenal support, immune support, antimicrobial support, anti-cancer support, green tea, because all these things for telomeres, antioxidants have been shown to help. A crappy lifestyle will make your telomeres, you know, age.
Yes.
Trauma will make your telomeres age.
Yeah.
Meditation will help your telomeres stay long by
Yes.
relaxation. There's all these things. But I just turn around and say, what works? So astragalus, milk thistle supports the liver. It has telomerase activity. Ginkgo, increased blood flow. I mean, hell, the rat's got 25% brain size increases. So let's get some blood flow to the brain while stimulating telomerase activity. Cynomorium, a Chinese yang tonic for sexual vitality, gives you energy, but it's considered an elixir of youth in Chinese medicine. But it does not make you feel like you're hyper, and you could take it at
Right.
night and not feel like you're wired. You know, green tea extract, ellagic acids, those green tea polyphenols, antioxidant, anti-cancer, but also has telomerase activity. Purslane. Most people pull it out of their garden and throw it away. They should be throwing it in their salads because it's one of the richest sources of omega-3 fatty acids known to mankind. Good
Awesome.
fats, what do? They feed your brain and they affect all of your cell membranes so nutrients can go in and out of your cells. So you have fluidic cells, and it has telomerase activity. Elderberry and resveratrol supports your immune system, but again, telomerase activity. Then I put calcium phosphate because 84% of your body composition, if you go back to ashes, is calcium and phosphorus because of your bones, right? And calcium to regulate those. And I put lemon in there, and I put lemon juice in there so it doesn't have the toxic sorolins that's found that cats and dogs have to stay away from. But
Mm-hmm.
lemon is an anionic surfactant. It disperses and helps the energy to be dispersed through the body. So when I'm teaching bioelectric chemistry concepts, I have everybody drinking a lemon ratio after their meals. 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lemon, 9 ounces of distilled water, so you have 10 ounces a day, and drink a third of that after your meals to stimulate the liver, stimulate digestion. I just gave you a plethora of information. I'm sure you have questions.
I do have questions. So here's my biggest thing, right? I think all of those herbs, that's super cool. They all sound very helpful. So they all stimulate telomerase activity. So as someone who is obsessed with bioindividuality and, nutrigenomics and all these different things, I'm like, I just noticed the more that I work with herbs in my practice that some people don't react well to certain herbs. So, like, how do you deal with that when you're trying to formulate a product that's supposed to be helpful for anti-aging for a lot of people? Like, what if someone doesn't do well with astragalus? You know what I mean? That's my only
Well,
question.
in almost over 2.5 years of selling the product, we've had 4 returns.
Not bad.
Not bad. One lady couldn't afford it and didn't
Okay.
want it. Out of the other ones, 2 of them complained of gastrointestinal, that
Mm,
after they started taking it, that their GI tract started becoming reactive. And I'm like, okay, think about that. If you turn around and enhance your immune activity, yet you don't change your diet and you're eating foods that are chronically inflammatory, if you eat those foods all the time, your body doesn't want you to have symptoms. So you get accustomed to it. But if you take something that enhances your immune response, what's your body going to do? Hey, guess what? You got to stop eating this crap.
right.
Okay. And then we had one person that returned it because they said that they were not sleeping as well, that it kept them a little bit more awake at night. So we're like,
Okay.
take it all in the morning, but
Morning. Yeah.
they were taking 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. I prefer taking 4 of them in the morning and just
Okay.
boom. It's better than it's cheaper than going to Starbucks, and it'll make you feel a lot better overall. I mean, it's the way to go. So, but 4 returns in 3 years or 2.5 years
And what about like do you take the product? Do you take your own product?
every day. Get up, it's right there. Yep.
What would you say are some of the immediate? So, I mean, I think the biggest thing for people listening is, and you're saying this as well. There is no magic pill for. I mean, if you listen to the show, you know there's no magic pill because I literally cover every single topic known to man. Like, you need to exercise, you need to drink your water, you need to do all the
Totally.
great
Yeah.
stuff. But we can use natural substances to support us
To
in slowing the
enhance.
aging process. So this is a supportive thing. What are some of the things you would say that people have experienced when they started taking it?
I tell people, don't believe a word I say. Go look at what other people say. Now, we can't put testimonies on our website because the FTC will come after us.
Uh,
But if you go to Amazon, don't buy it through Amazon, buy it through us, and we can give you a discount. So if anybody turns around and uses Raw Girl as a
mhm.
discount code, we'll give them 10% off. So then they know that they listen to your show. Okay.
Okay, cool.
But if you turn around and you go to Amazon, read the reviews. People increase sex drive. We've had people in their 70s say that they got their sex life back, which they haven't had for over 6 years. We've had people
Wow.
have their hair go dark again. We've had people have their hair grow back in. We've had people with chronic fatigue say, "Oh my God, my life is back." But we can't turn around and put all that out there. But what we do is say, "Hey, turn around and give us the testimony." So we have a bunch of testimonies, but we're hesitant to putting them on our website because I have been censored. So
Ugh.
what I teach and the concepts that I teach, I think because they're restorative, and this product, what Google, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google last summer, we were like skyrocketing, and all of a sudden they turned around when we wanted to do advertising because we have a Kathy Ireland kind of thing, and
Yeah.
watch these videos and stuff on there. And we
Yeah.
wanted to link it to it, and Google's like, no, this is an experimental medical product, and you cannot advertise this product. So we have no social media advertising whatsoever, and they won't allow us to advertise it, and they shut us down. And I'm like, that's the FDA's job, not yours. So it really
What?
ticks me off. Yeah, oh God, yeah. So people, so our
Wow.
way of getting it out there is coming to people like you. And now I
Right.
have clients, I have people like you who are turning around and selling it wholesale and putting it on their website saying, oh my God, you got to try this product. But that's why I want to send you a bottle, and I wish that you had already had one, because most people, if you go watch like that Kathy Ireland video that's on the
Yeah.
Vitalometry or on Doc Mesac, the testimony there is like the very first day energy
Mm,
levels. Most
mm,
people are sitting there saying mental awareness and energy is what it's
mm,
doing for them. But
mm,
all these other things we're seeing was, this one lady on Amazon talks about climbing mountains and how she's able to, go up these high peak mountains better than she ever has. We have
right.
a lady in her 40s saying, "My husband loves this stuff because my sex drive has gone crazy." Just look at the Amazon reviews is what I tell
Okay.
people.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So it must be, I mean, well, you're on to something when people start censoring you when it comes to holistic
Yeah.
wellness in general,
I'm about to.
unfortunately.
I've got a book coming out. I'm calling it "Restorative Health by the Numbers," so people can understand how to do their own home urine and saliva testing, how they can understand what their urine pH dictates, what foods are ideal for you.
Yes.
And you can learn to recognize patterns of allergy. You can learn to recognize patterns of adrenal stress and all this other stuff, and know what your body needs. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're coming out with a book, and right now I'm just working on visual aids to help people to understand the concepts, because sometimes people are like, Doc, you're like going over my head. How am I supposed to get this? So we're bringing it down to a practical aspect, like I mentioned, drinking lemon after your meals, how to
Yes.
understand what to test and things like that. But the biggest testimony for my product was my dog. So we had a dog. Her name was Clara. Okay, and so
Mm-hmm.
Clara was a yellow lab, and when she was about 13, she was getting cataracts and her just a little senile, starting to walk outside of our yard boundary. She was losing bladder control. She couldn't
Oh
make it up the
no.
steps every night, and so my wife was like, "We need to put her down." But we love her to death. Incredible dog. And I'm like, well, let me do something, because I was coming out with Vitalometry, and it was just in and I went and mixed up the ingredients of Vitalometry, and I put them in a collagen base, and I just
Huh.
started sprinkling it over her food. Within a week, it was like a totally different dog. She was
Oh
wanting to
my
play
gosh.
again. She was walking up and down the stairs. And she regained bladder control. She'd go to the door and stop peeing on the floor all the time. We got 2 more years out of that dog. She lived to be 15 years old. And what
Wow.
happened was, is I ran out of the product with her, didn't give it to her for about a week, and she went down so fast. My wife's like, look, it's time. And I'm like, yeah, we put her down at that point.
Wow.
But
Wow.
so that is just, so we came out with a product called K9 Telometry, wherever that is. Okay.
Okay.
And you can get that through the same website. And,
Okay.
but it's again, it, we can advertise on social media for dogs, because you can say, hey, good for the hair, skin, the nails, good for detoxification. And so, and hopefully people will go to the dog product and say, hey, there's one of these for my animal, for me, after they see how their dog responds, because we're seeing the same thing with dogs. We
Wow.
got dogs acting like puppies again.
Wow, that's amazing. How does stress affect our DNA? Like my clients are super stressed out. A lot of them are very busy corporate women, or I have some actress clients, some entrepreneurs, but a lot of people are dealing with stress from so many different levels.
Mhm.
How is that affecting the way that we are aging?
It shortens your telomeres, period. You can have traumatic events in childhood that lead to
Mm,
chronic emotional patterns, and that childhood trauma can lead to you having um, a shorter lifespan, because you
wow.
carry that emotional with you for the rest of your life. So I mentioned, so Elizabeth Blackburn wrote a book. She's one of the three physiologists who got the Nobel Prize in Medicine, and she wrote a book called The Telomere Effect or something like that. And
Hmm.
in that book, she talks about crappy food, crappy telomeres, crappy lifestyle, crappy telomeres, exercise, lengthen telomeres, pure water, lengthen telomeres, and then she's in but the one thing that she specifically mentions in there is stress and meditation. That there's a
Mm,
direct effect that if you learn to relax and meditate, and particularly deal with childhood traumas. So, like,
mm.
I love the holistic psychologist because she teaches people to go back and realize that your inner child is going through trauma, but you don't have to accept that trauma as an adult. You can go through this and don't give those emotions a right or wrong, an empowerment over you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yes.
so, but you learn how to channel and how to handle your emotions with an adult perspective and not take on that stress, but and become self-aware. Like, close your eyes, breathe. What are three things you feel? What are three things you taste? What are three things, so you just tune in to where you are. And if you really start doing that, you will feel where your stress is. Oh, I get it right here. I
Mm.
feel it in my lower back. I tighten up. And so if you start talking about that thing that you hate the most, you can feel where those stress patterns in if you tune into them. And so just to connect it all, there was a guy named Bob Cooley. Okay, Bob Cooley was the genius of flexibility. Guy couldn't walk, taught himself resistant stretching. Dana
Mm.
Torres, who came back at the age of 40 and got that gold and silver medals in swimming, keeping up with girls half her age. And like, how the hell do you do this? She's like, well, I learned about Bob Cooley and resistant stretching, and I have a team of people stretching me out. Bob Cooley realized that when he was teaching his techniques, he called it meridian stretching, and
Huh.
that if he started teaching people, go home and practice this stretch this week, and when they came back, all of them would talk about money, or all of them would talk about their love issues, or all of them would talk about their stress at work. And he found that certain muscle groups is where they harbored their stress, and when he learned to release that, the emotions were releasing with it. We
Wow.
hold it in. It's all energy. So
Wow.
I just connected Eastern, Western chemistry. It's all together. It's all frequency and vibration. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that so much. We talked on this show about emotional traumas and releasing with a rapid transformational therapist who works in my
Yeah,
practice. And that stuff is incredible. I mean, literally, people will go in with the craziest habits and not realize that it's coming from their childhood trauma. And once they release it, they like all of a sudden don't need to be on 10 diets, you
right,
know?
right. You can either keep reliving your childhood by equipping and allowing those emotions to subconsciously control your actions, or
Mm,
you can learn self awareness to identify those and then change. And you make the choice of how you want to and who you want to define yourself as in that motion. You can accept that
purple.
stress or you can let it go. And those type of techniques are wonderful. Everybody needs to do that.
Yeah, love it. Dr. Misak, this has been a really awesome, awesome conversation. Tell us again where people can find Vitalometry.
Two places. You can go to docmisak, docmisak.com, docmisak.com. That'll learn about me, my practice, but there's a link to Vitalometry there. Or they can go to vitalometry.com, Viteleometry, vitalometry.com. And again, if they use Raw Girl as a discount code, we'll give them 10% off trying the
Super
product.
cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure.